Welcome back to another episode of the Tiffany Paul Show. If you're watching this on YouTube, take a good look at this face because I'm officially 39. I'm a grown-up, I think, almost. Officially, maybe a little. But the truth is, age is just a number, but I am 39. Happy birthday to all my fellow Aquarians out there. We are here to disrupt. We are in Aquarius season and we are in the age of Aquarius. So this is going to be a good year for all my fellow Aquarius. And you know what? Let's just say it's going to be a good year for all of us. And so, first off, let's talk about my intention for the year. So, for me, this is a year of going all in on me. It's going all in on my mission. And ironically, that mission was awakened this summer after my heartbreak. I have to be honest, like this romance I had this summer, I really downplayed it in ways. I called it the summer fling because it was so short-lived. It was so fast and furious. And honestly, the truth is that like I fell in love with this person. And and because of the way he like ghosted me there at the end multiple times, and because of the way like he wouldn't fully commit to me or choose me, I was just trying to rationalize this as somebody who was just a casual fling. But the truth is, like, not only did I fall in love with him, he awakened literally more of my soul, more of my truth, and more of my purpose than any other experience in my lifetime. And the best way I can explain this is that not only did he bring out like more of the truth of who I am, like the positives, he also helped me see like a lot of the shadows and the patterns and some healing that I still had to work on in order to fully step into my highest point of potency in the world, into more visibility, into more embodiment. And he was triggering things in me that hadn't been triggered by those in my inner circle and my marriage. And so I wasn't even aware that that still existed within me. And one of the main things that triggered me was that he would just question me versus my circle and even my family, who I have shared it, has not always been the most supportive around me growing up. Like everybody now in my circles, like, yeah, Tiffany, whatever she wants to do, she's going to make it happen. Like she's a badass, she's powerful. And I'm like, yeah, I am. But then he would like question me or like make little comments that kind of made me start questioning myself because I felt like he really saw me. And then at the same time, he's questioning me. And there's this saying that if the truth doesn't exist within you, it won't bother you. So let's say if he said something and it didn't bother me, that means that I'm fully anchored in that truth. But because where he was questioning me or pointing out certain, flaws or areas of opportunity, and it was bothering me, that means that I knew it was the truth. And anytime somebody triggers you, it's because a part of you knows that it's true. Because if you're unbothered, it's like if it's like not the truth for you, you're like unbothered. Like if someone's like the sky's purple, you're like, it's not, it's blue, bro. Like you're not gonna be like, what are you talking about? It's blue. But this person, like his words like carried weight in my soul. And it like broke me down. And that was the most surprising part of all of it because I always thought I was like this confident, self assured person. But then suddenly, this person was making me question my own worth. And it was the best thing that could have ever happened because what it was doing was pointing to me where I still doubted my worth. And it took someone like him, where I cared about him, questioning me and not choosing me and rejecting me and abandoning me by like ghosting me when I thought he cared, for me to really realize like, wow, I still have like these wounds around like feeling rejected or feeling not enough or not knowing my worth. Because the thing is that it was mirroring childhood wounds. It was mirroring caregivers who loved and cared for me, but at times made me feel rejected or not enough or like a disappointment or like not chosen. And the other thing about who we attract into our lives is it's often a mirror for the healing that we have to do within ourselves. So not only was he pointing out these, I don't know, insecurities in me inadvertently, it was also showing me like how I wasn't fully choosing myself. Like I was like half choosing myself. I was still hiding and playing small. And by him not choosing me, it just was seriously a reflection of like, wow, I thought I knew my worth. I thought I was choosing myself. And he just like shook up my whole reality around who I thought I was and how I thought I was living. And it just pulled out all the bullshit. And I was acting on my mission and my deepest desires, but in a small way. I wasn't like letting it lead my life. I wasn't like living this full, robust, soul led life. I was allowing like my purpose and my vision and my soul's calling to play like the small, it was like in the back seat. It was like in the car, but the back seat. So is that fully choosing you? Or is that just you like dabbling, you know? And so it was just a mirror where I was like, oh, he's not choosing me. I'm not choosing me. And at the same time, I've shared like I was very reactive in that relationship because I cared so deeply for him. And because he would trigger me so deeply, I became dysregulated. And he would avoid and he would shut down. And people who avoid and shut down, that's actually very reactive as well. It's just the opposite. Like, so he would shut down, which is like a reaction, because the healthy, regulated state is to respond and to stay, stay in the moment or like regulate and come back. But it's like he would shut down. I would, do the opposite, which is like I would be reactive. And so I'm like, oh my God, he shuts down. But it's like, well, how am I also reacting? I started seeing like how our protective like mechanisms in survival mode would interact with one another. Like I'd be reactive and that was like my survival mode. And he would be avoidant and shut down. And that was his survival mode. And it's like, that is not even the truth of who we are. He like that's a behavior that he picked up to protect himself. And this is a behavior, me being reactive. It's like the way I regulate my nervous system by like verbally processing. Or it's like when my nervous system doesn't feel safe, it like reacts verbally. So all that to say, I started questioning like, this is not even the truth. Like I'm acting like this, but that's not the truth of who I am. And so it just really like sent me down this rabbit hole of like, who am I and what is authenticity and what is truth? And through that experience, it really cracked me open to even deeper layers of understanding like who I am and how we all wear masks and how we all go into survival mode and how we all have these protector parts that like we use to protect ourselves, our identity, our hearts. And we all have these false identities we also fall under. It's like he had this persona that he had created for himself. And in ways I had a persona I had created for ourselves. In a way we're like protecting that persona, but we're both poking at each other's persona, but not even realize that we're living in a persona. Is any of this making sense? Okay, it's sorry if it's not, but you guys, this is what I'm living through, okay? So why it matters is because what he unlocked in me is like my next layer of mission here on this planet. It's like I always knew that like truth and getting to the truth and seeing beyond illusions and deconditioning, it's always been something I've been fascinated. It's like nature versus nurture. How much is our conditioning and how much is the truth of who we are? And so before I met him, I thought my mission was to bring out more of the potential in humanity through like dreaming bigger, taking bolder action, like having a vision for your life. But after meeting him, it really unlocked in me like this mission to really connect people to the truth of who they are and live an authentic, true life. And sure, it's not like a hard left turn, but it's a slight degree turn that changed the trajectory of like what I'm going to do next. Because what I'm going to do next is definitely step more into public speaking. I will share that. And so I have been working on my keynote, and it is all about bringing more authenticity to the workplace, because this is a place where people show up each and every day and they are disconnected from who they are in order to be professional and fit in. And there's a real negative impact on the business when you're not getting the most out of your people through the power of authenticity. And so it's also impacted my writing. So I was writing my book about vision, highest vision, creating a bigger vision for your life. And now my book is about connecting to the true you, the real you. And so if I hadn't met this person, I don't know where I would be. Happier last summer is for sure one thing. But he really changed the entire trajectory of my mission and what I know I'm here to do, which is, again, help people embody more truth and authenticity. And I'm going to be doing that through speaking. I'm going to be doing that through consulting with different corporations to bring a more authentic culture into the workplace. I'm going to be doing that through writing a book. And I'm going to be doing that in the way I live my life. And I really want this to be the year that is the most authentic, true year yet. I was with a friend the other day and she was like, make 3 birthday wishes. This was like a week before my birthday. And I said, she's like, if you could have like anything, what would you want? I wish for 3 things. I wished for a happy life. I wish for true love. And I wish for global impact. And I feel like if I had those 3 things, I'd have everything I want in life. So those are my 3 wishes. I said it aloud, blew out an imaginary candle. And then the very next day, I want to tell you something that happened. So if you tuned into my numerology forecast, she was telling me how this year is my love year. And so because my main focus this year is focusing on my mission and myself, I was like, I'm not trying to also necessarily open up to love. And I also had this misbelief where I was thinking, oh my God, like a man's just going to distract me from my mission. And then I realized that like the right man is actually going to accelerate my mission, going to support me. And so I'm like, I'm going to stay open and I'm only going to be open to, men that are going to enhance my mission, not distract me from my mission. So I shared I went on a few coffee dates so far, like nothing crazy. And a lot of really safe, mature men, which is great. But I had a fun surprise the other day that I wanted to just share with you to give you a little evidence of like, first off, not everything needs to be planned and coordinated by you. We are co-creating with a higher power and we can take all the aligned action we want. We can set the intentions, but sometimes things just fall into your life. And that's also part of my intention this year. I've been like, this is going to be the year that everything turns around for the better and things are just going to fall into place. It's not like I have to like hustle and force and work harder than I've ever been. It's like, yeah, there's going to be some hard decisions. There's going to be consistent action that's needed and discipline and structure placed around this next iteration of me. Absolutely. But also when you're co-creating with the universe and when you're playing with the laws of manifestation and energetics in the quantum field, things can just fly in that you didn't even expect. So here we go. So I am sitting at a bar with my girlfriend and we are grabbing drinks. And of course, we're scoping the bar for like cuties because hello, we're single. And so I'm sitting at the bar and this cute guy walks in. He meets these other 2 guys and I'm like, ooh, he is cute. But like my back is turned to him. So of course I'm like, how do I get, I need to make eye contact to like show that I'm interested. And so I had this genius idea. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take my jean jacket off and I'm gonna like lean over and like put it on the little hook under the bar. I'll make eye contact with him, and like let him know like I see him and I'm interested. So I take my coat off and I'm leaning over and I'm like, looking up, like fumbling with the hook. So as I'm like leaning and we make eye contact and he, like a gentleman, is like, oh my, can I help you with that? And I'm like, oh yeah, thank you, And I had just gotten my hair done. So I had like a fresh new haircut and he's like, oh my God, I have to just say like, I love your hair. And I was like, thank you. But in all fairness, I was just at the hairdresser. So this is like as good as it's going to ever look. So if I meet the love of my life tonight, he needs to know like it's only downhill from here. I'm like, so if that's you, like now you know. And he laughs. So this is like, like he passes the first test. Me making an inappropriate joke. He gets my sense of humor. I, basically alluded to the fact that he could be the love of my life and we don't even know if he's single at this point. So he laughs. So we start like bantering. He's with the guy friends. I'm with my girlfriends. And I'm like, hey, what are you guys doing here? He's like, this is the men's group. We all kind of get together, talk about our mission in life. And I'm like, remember, my intention for the year is to focus on my mission. So I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so interesting. That's like my intention for the year. I'm actually going to this dinner in 2 days. All about, founders who have a strong mission on their heart. So then we get into talking about our mission. I tell him all my big dreams, like my mission in life, like everything I'm going to accomplish. And there are a few people I will feel comfortable with, like sharing like my full mission and like what I feel like I'm here to do and like what I'm working on, because that stuff is sacred and not everybody can hold it. But energetically, I'm just comfortable. I can tell he has a big heart. He genuinely cares. I hear about his mission. So then the two of us are just like going back and forth. We're just like bantering. And I'm like everybody is like around us kind of like just starts to like look at us like, what is going on here? Because they can like read the chemistry, if you will. And we just kind of like laugh. And I was like, I don't know. And I was like, well, I should ask, like, are you single? And he's like, yeah. He's like, I'm actually, finalizing my divorce. And I'm like, I'm finalizing my divorce because I have been separated for like almost 3 years, but the paperwork's like finalizing next month. So he's like, I'm like, okay. I'm like, have you dated yet? He's like, no, not yet. And I'm like, yeah, I didn't for the first year either. And I was like, well, we can be friends. He's like, we can definitely be friends. He's like, but I can't lie. Like, I'm very attracted to you. I'm like, thank you. I'm like, I'm very attracted to you. And he's like, well, do you want to go on a walk sometime? And I was like, yes. So I love this. Like, so cute. He like wants to go on a walk. And I'm like, at this point, I like have already forgotten his name. And I was like, so what's your name again? I'm horrible with names. And he tells me his name. And I was like, you don't look like a blank, you know? And he's like, well, you can have a nickname for me. And I was like, can I call you Love? And again, he laughs. He's taking my inappropriate jokes and he's rolling with them. And he's like, you can call me Love. And I was like, thank you so much for like rolling with my inappropriate jokes. And he's like, oh, of course. He's like, but underneath every joke, there's like a thread of truth. He's like, I'm picking it up. He's like, we have something here. So I love that he calls me out. He ends up going to have dinner with his friends at the bar. I'm finishing dinner with my girlfriend. He comes over. He's like, can we actually go on this walk now? So we end up going on this walk. I tell him, we talk all about everything, his childhood, my childhood, like everything. I basically just laid out there. I'm like, this is everything I'm going through. This is everything I've been through. And he just like looks at me. He's like, you're just amazing. You're amazing. And I'm like telling him my dreams. And I'm like, I know it's kind of crazy. I don't know if I can do it. He's like, you absolutely can do it. He's like, you can do it. And he's like, can I read your book? And like, who knows where all this is going to go, you guys? But why I shared the story with you is because the right person will be able to hold all of you, like hold your inappropriate jokes, hold your mission, like genuinely support you. And like, there's no perfect person. But what I loved from this interaction was that it just showed me that, first off, like there are amazing men out there. He's an entrepreneur. He has like he has a give back. Like he works with various charities. He's a dad, so he has like 4 daughters, and he's been married for a significant period of time. And again, like, okay, and then let me just tell you more. So then he's like, when can I see you? And I'm like, I have all these things. I can't see you till like next Thursday. And I'm like, and then I have my kids for a week after that. So I'm like, well, I fly back Thursday night from San Francisco. I'm like, do you want to pick me up from the airport and go for a drink? And again, I don't know why. I'm just comfortable with him at this point. And probably most guys might be like, what the fuck? This girl's like trying to marry me. But again, like a past husband doesn't actually like care because they're like, yeah, being married is cool. And I'm not trying to marry him, for the record. But he's like, oh my God, I'll totally pick you up from the airport. And then I'm like, and by the way, it's my birthday on that day. So I'm just like waiting for him to be like, okay. He's like, it's your birthday. He's like, you need to get on an earlier flight. We're going to do dinner. We're not going to do a drink. So I get home, I tell my friends about this interaction, and I'm like, listen to all the things, and listen to what we planned as our first date. And they're like, Tiffany, you first off are so ballsy. Secondly, let's see if he freaking follows through. So of course, like next day, he's like, all right, I have a reservation for this time. If you can get an earlier flight, I'm gonna move it. He's like, I'm gonna keep it a surprise. And so again, like plans the date, just tells me like what time. I end up getting on an earlier flight. I come home early. He brings me flowers. Like, the date is good. Like, side note, like, moving forward, I'm not going to talk about my dating life because I think it's like, hello, like, if you're dating me, you don't want like your whole dating stuff on the internet. So I only want to share this one piece because, first off, I don't know where this is going to go. And it's not really the point of like, oh my God, I met my person. It's not that. The point is that when you're open, the universe can surprise you. And also, like, just because most people say like it can't be done or there aren't good men out there, or just because you've had past experiences with dating certain people doesn't mean like that's how it's going to be. And this was just like a cool surprise of like, I was open to meeting someone if they didn't distract me from myself and my mission, and they supported that. And then it just came in like 2 weeks into the year. And again, I was like, wow, I didn't even have to try really. I mean, I did have to like fumble with my jacket a little bit and make conversation and all of that. But again, like, I've had these fears around like being too much or too ambitious. And like this person, he like loves my drive and he loved how forward I was. And he's like, I love your confidence. I love what you're doing in life, and like genuinely like loved it, versus made me feel bad about it and like question me. And, going back to like what I talked about with like the first relationship, it served a purpose. And like, I know that I was triggering him too. And like, I'm sure like in his highest self, like he would fully support me too. But it just wasn't what it was in that situation. And so, again, regardless of where this happens to go, it was just a beautiful positive thing that happened versus all the negative things that have been going down that I've been carrying. Like, I've been carrying so much and I've been navigating so much of it alone in many ways. Like, my best friend from Orange County just moved across the country to be with, her man. My other best friend, she's like in a new relationship and she's kind of been MIA. I have a very small circle of friends, and it's like I've lost two of them. And then even, I told you before, like my ex-husband, he has a new serious girlfriend. And so like, even though he was a support system from like an ex-husband perspective, like I've kind of lost him. I just have lost a lot of support systems throughout this past year, as I know many people have with like the year of the snake. Like there was a shutting and letting go and losing of people. And like, it's all purposeful and powerful to be able to like self-source and navigate all the challenges on your own. Because if you can self-regulate and really find that like power and safety within yourself without having to co-regulate with another person, which is obviously easier, but not as powerful because you're relying on somebody else to like support you and help you regulate versus you being able to do that on your own. And so beyond him, I've also made like several new connections at different events that are people that can support me in what I'm building here behind the scenes for this next iteration of my career, this next iteration of me. And I just feel like really lucky and blessed. One second, I need more water. And so this is 39, a truer, more authentic version of me, and one that is really committed to going all in on me and my soul and living a life that feels completely aligned with the truth of who I am and what I'm here to do. And I know that that is the fulfillment that my heart and my soul have been lacking. It's like I told you, I felt like this emptiness, this lack of fulfillment in my life. And that's because I wasn't quite anchored into who I was and my mission. And sure, there are moments of fulfillment of like joy and fun and laughter and connection and friendship and, travel and being with my kids, of course. But like overall, like the emptiness I felt was like a disconnection from myself in that moment, but also a disconnection from really living a life of purpose and leading with mission. And we all get lost along the way at times. And what we think is like, our purpose evolves. And so it's not like anything I did was wrong or the moves I made were wrong. Everything was perfectly timed so that I could learn and become, I was a student of what I'm here to teach, which is living my truth. So if I'm here to teach that, I have to first live it by being disconnected. So I hope today's episode inspires you to make this the year that you go all in on you, that you choose you, that you stand in your purpose and your mission and trust that life's going to reveal that to you in the perfect way. And sometimes that looks like painful ego deaths, but it's all worth it when you're on the other side. So I'm looking forward to seeing what this year brings. And we will continue to navigate the messy middle. And that right now, I feel like a lot of us are in that void space of like no longer who we used to be, not yet fully anchored into who we're becoming. And that's the liminal space that can feel disorienting at times. And that void space and that emptiness is something we often want to fill with like, just fill it for the sake of filling. But it's important that we hold this liminal space, that we stand in the in between with patience and know that in perfect timing, it will all be revealed. It will all be brand new. So be patient. Remember that Chinese New Year doesn't start until February 17th, and the spring equinox in March is like the beginning of life. Like we're in the dead of winter. So if you're like haven't seen the progress you want to see yet, just know that the seeds are still underground and the sprouts will be revealed in perfect timing. So trust the process, trust you're exactly where you're meant to be, and trust yourself. So, all right, I love you guys. I have to go pick up my kiddos, but thank you all so much for tuning in. And if you're watching this on YouTube, hit subscribe. And if you enjoyed this episode and you're listening to the podcast, would you mind giving us a rating and review? It really helps the podcast reach more people. So, all right, I will see you all next week. Bye.